Hello and good evening. Here's the thing. One of the things that I kind of pride myself in my career was that, and I did this. I don't know if you've ever done this. I look back over my career and I looked at my percentage as it relates to when I interviewed compared to actually when I actually got the job. And I gotta say, and please, I hope you understand that this is really not me boasting. My percentage is probably around 95, probably 96% of the time. Anytime I interviewed for a position, I got the position. But I got passed over one time for an opportunity, and it really crushed me. I thought that I was ready for the role. I thought I had everything necessary, the requisite skills, the experience, all the different things that I needed or I felt that I needed to actually get promoted. So tonight we are going to talk about this has actually been one of the biggest topics that I've had a request for, which is how do you get promoted in retail? And we're going to talk about that right when we get back.
Welcome to Retail Leadership, hosted by Steve Worthy. We understand that retail is a fast-paced industry and that a leader's decision will impact everyone, every day, all over the world. Listen, it's time for you to stop being the leader others think you should be and time for you to become the leader you have always wanted to be. Are you ready? Let's go.
So yeah, I got passed over for that opportunity, and I'm telling you, it really crushed me because I thought that I understood what the my skill set would actually give me. And tonight we are going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how do you get promoted in retail. One of the lessons that I learned, and that we're going to be talking about that tonight. Some of the things that I realized that I didn't do properly in order to actually get that opportunity. But I wanted to start with this fact, and it's a fact that from an article that I read this week. We actually did an article about it ourselves. That 74% of retail workers are looking for new jobs right now. This is as of the date of this podcast episode, and that's a large number. And part of that reason could be culture. Part of it could be the fact that we're seeing maybe not as strong of growth as we are in certain retail sectors, things along that line. But I think part of it has to be that one of the things I have been preaching so much as relative to retail is to show people a path to growth, a path to where they actually need to be. And some of the best organizations that do that, you will find that their turnover as it compares to retail, right? Retail, of course, has the highest turnover probably in any industry. So, but if you actually think about the companies that actually have some of the best turnover, meaning the less, meaning the lowest, you will see that they typically have a path to promotion, a path to the next level, and actually what you need to actually do to get there. So tonight, we are going to be talking about how do you get promoted in retail. And this is part one of a two-part series as it relates to getting promoted. Because tonight, we are going to be talking about the three reasons why retail leaders do not get promoted. Do not get promoted. And I think that's something that not just retail leaders are going to be tuning in for tonight or listening to this podcast tonight. You need to understand not just why, the skill sets that you need to actually get promoted. You need to know why. And the reason I wanted to do this way was because as I spoke earlier about the time that I got passed over, I did some soul searching and I realized that there were certain things that I was probably missing that I didn't actually show. I actually was very, very comfortable in the fact that I thought that I was actually going to actually get the position. So I'm going to start with number one, and this is going to be super simple for you to get this, and please understand and get this one. Number one. Here we go. There we go. Number one is you're just not ready, right? I know it may seem, you know, kind of actually this isn't really number one. This is the setup to number one. This is the setup to number one. Apologize. Here's the thing. You just may not be ready. Time, experience, and capacity are certain things that you need within retail. And what I mean by that, what I mean by time is it's not so much that you need 4 or 5 years to actually get promoted. You need you need focused time doing your role, thinking about the next role, possibly operating in the next role, understanding what your boss and what your boss's boss, what are their concerns, and spend time understanding what those things are. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we start talking about strategic communication and strategic vision here in a second. And that kind of goes into experience, the idea around experience. Here's the one thing that, and I probably should have put this in here, and I should have, and I'm going to talk about it right now, is that it's not just experience that helps you; it's evaluated experiences. So that moment of when I was passed over, it could have been just a drop in the bucket for me around something that happened to me in my career. It could have been just something that occurred and I just not really thought anything of it. But I evaluated that experience and I realized that there were certain things that I took for granted, just to be very honest, that I literally took for granted as it relates to me getting that next role. So I evaluated that experience and realized that the next opportunity that I received, guess what? I'm not going to take it lightly. I am not going to allow this opportunity to pass me by. And then the other reason about not being ready is around capacity. It's around capacity. It is your ability to take in information and utilize the information for not just the betterment of yourself, but for the betterment of your team and the company. One of the things that you will hear throughout this podcast is that anything that I talk about it's not just going to be about just for you. The tendency and one of the main reasons that people are not ready when it comes to getting promoted is because they think about promotion in the context of just themselves. They don't think about it in the context of of the team and who have I brought along with me on my leadership journey. Because as you go, so goes your team. You have to understand that aspect of it too. So when you are getting promoted, it's not just about you. It's about those other people that you have actually helped. And we'll probably talk more about that on part two, because it's going to be a really good one around developing talent and things that you actually need to do for that. So I'm asking and underpinning question of this podcast is why do you want to get promoted? Why do you want to get promoted? And we typically talk about it and think about it in three ways. And it is because you're thinking about three different, and we call them the 3 Fs. You're thinking about your future, you're thinking about your finances, and you're thinking about your family. Those are the 3 Fs that we that we work with clients about, because those are the main things that people think about as it relates to getting promoted. I want to know, whether it's in the comments or whether it's you let me know. I want to know which one is it for you? Is it, if you want to get promoted, is it around just your future? Is it around the financial side of it? Or is it around family, taking care of your family? It could be all three. And sometimes it actually is all three as well too. So we want to do that. We want to make sure we talked about that. So, and I will get right now to one of the main reasons why people don't get promoted. And this is going to, all three of these are really going to help you with galvanizing your thought process around where you currently are, taking an assessment of this character, this the character trait that we're really going to be talking about, or this skill set, and then evaluating it where you are to where you want to be. And number one is lack of strategic vision. Lack of strategic vision. The issue that I see when it comes to single unit, multi-unit, even all the way up to sometimes up to the SVP level, is that people are so fixated on the day-to-day operations. And I understand that because if you don't have a understanding of the day-to-day operations, your store, your business unit, your market, whatever it is, can get away from you if you don't have a pulse on it. However, if you are living and breathing and working in the day-to-day minutia, you don't have the time to think strategically and long term about whether it's your single business unit or it's actually your market, and also where the company is going and the competition and around talent. We get so fixated on the day-to-day that we don't think outside of our box. And when we don't do that, we lack the strategic vision to have a conversation for people who are at the next level and help them understand that we have the capacity. Remember, I just talked about that, about the capacity to actually move forward. We can't speak in a and communicate in a strategic perspective. We focus on the day-to-day. Here's how you can kind of think about the strategic vision is identifying some trends and opportunities that are one within your store and also the market and also the company. When I was going up for promotion with Target, and I had my interview with the CEO, one of the things that we spoke about a whole bunch of things, but he gave me something that really just kind of like it's something that has stuck with me, and I teach it to our clients. I taught it to my team. He said, Steve, please, when you bring a problem to your boss or your boss's boss, don't think about just like, your market. You actually have to think about all the other markets, and you have to think about it from a complete company standpoint. And because the tendency is, what happens is that we just focus in on our market, and we think that whatever it is that we're going through in our market or our store and our business unit, that's it. If we are really looking at it strategically, we have to think about, well, you know what? If I'm going through this, someone else is going through this, right? And you actually have to make those strategic connections with your peers and make sure that this isn't just like you. This is, hey, am I the only one going through this? Am I the only one seeing this? Am I looking at market trends? Am I looking at what's happening with supply chain? Am I looking at the competition? Am I walking the competition? Right? One of the best things that you can do to help with your strategic vision is to walk the competition and read articles, listen to a podcast, and then you can have a better understanding about what's taking place in the market. And once you're able to do that, you can kind of internalize this information and utilize it to develop your own strategic vision for your business unit and also for your team. So one of the ways to also think about this and to develop this strategic vision is that you have to focus on the company and not just your unit. We just kind of talked about that. The other thing is that what's important to your boss and your boss's boss. I'm telling you this right now. I'm gonna just give you. I could probably stop the podcast right here on this one, but I'm not, because I got two more that I want to talk about. Is that when you are in a position to lead from from your boss's perspective and vision and thought process, you are almost kind of guaranteed to be looked at for a promotional standpoint. But when you are able to look at a situation, your store, your market, the company, from your boss's boss perspective and be able to articulate what they are dealing with and what they are going through. I won't say I can guarantee that you'll get promoted, but I'll tell you this right now: they're going to look at you completely different. You have to be able to communicate problems, not just at your level, and not just what. Here's the thing: whenever I would walk markets, we we had a way of talking about certain things, and typically those who are in retail, you guys will get this. When we you leave a store, you have notes, meaning that I give you notes to work on for your store, right? Or I give you things to work on for your district. There are certain sets or certain levels of notes. There are what we call store level notes. Those are clean, neat, straight, brand or whatever. Then there are market level notes in the context of, you know, um, you know, uh, uh, promotional aspects and making sure that, kind of across the board that you are doing things, from a market standpoint and that all the stores are actually doing the same thing. Then there is what we call, you know, you can call them market level, or you can call them like senior vice president notes. And those are really strategic objectives. And those are things that, and how you are approaching, your store, how you are approaching the market, how you are you walking the competition and actually having conversations with your boss and your boss's boss around things that you are seeing in the market. You, if you are able to do certain things like that, I'm telling you right now, it is going to help you with your strategic vision, 100%. When you understand what the competition is doing, better than you, when you're able to articulate that and talk about that, where you can say, you know what, I just walked, two stores of our competition, and they are doing X, Y, and Z better than we are. You can talk to your team about it. You can talk to your boss about it, or you can develop a plan to say, what can we do differently? How can we impact this as a market? I'm seeing this trend take place and we're not doing that. But guess what? Their customer satisfaction ratings are going up. How do we communicate this across the market? How do we communicate this as well? And then the last piece around strategic vision that I want to definitely talk about and hit on, because we got two more points and I want to make sure we cover those with you, is developing talent. Best piece of advice that I have ever received. And I dare you to ask the same question. I asked this question of one of my bosses. Actually, it was my boss's boss. And I asked him, said, what's the secret to my success? And I was at Target at the time. And I asked them what was the key to my success. And they said to develop and export great talent. Develop and export great talent. It didn't say anything around KPIs. It didn't say anything, um, relative to sales, turnover, or anything like that. They said develop and export great talent. And here's why that for me was some of the best piece of information that I've ever received. Because when you're able to do that, and we're talking about strategic vision and why people don't get promoted, because the tendency is that people don't develop really good talent. People don't know how to do it. And they don't, once they develop some really good talent, a lot of times, guess what? They want to hold on to that talent. That's the worst thing you could do. They want to develop that talent and keep them in-house. And they want to hold on to them with a kung fu grip. You can't do that. You got to let your talent go. You got to export your talent. Because when you start talking about getting promoted, one of the best things that you can say and have in your wheelhouse is that I promoted 4 people this year to other markets. We saw when I took over a market, I took over a market, and it was a fairly green market. and green in operations, all these things. So honestly, my biggest thing was maintaining. It was maintaining the market, the greenness, if you will, the status of the market. But the issue that we had was that we had such a large talent pool that were one or two levels down. But we had people that were stuck in these roles and they didn't want to go anywhere. They didn't want to go anywhere. They were fine with being with where they were. And I was like, dude, no, we can't do that, man. I gotta get you guys out of here because we have more talent that's coming behind you that needs the opportunity. So guess what we did? We found a way to actually get them promoted and relocate them to other markets. So when we start talking about strategic vision, your goal and your opportunity is to make sure that you are thinking about things from your boss's boss perspective, that you're not just thinking about things from your individual unit's standpoint, but you are thinking about the entire market. Make sure you are taking that into consideration. You're looking at the competition. You have a better understanding of what they're doing better than you, and you can actually articulate that. And then lastly, you are developing talent. This talent is not just for you, but it's for the company. Understand that. I told you the underpinning of everything that we talk about today is not just going to be about for you, it's going to be about for the company. And when you start communicating in such a way, you are going to set yourself apart. Let's talk about number two. Woo! And this number two, we see this. Oh my gosh, I see this one all the time. Man, oh man, this is the kiss of death. This one, number two, is a kiss of death for me, and it is. I don't have a lot of pet peeves, but this one is it. It is resistance to change, and here's why. Here's why this is a pet peeve for me. And it's a personal thing, and not personal. It's the reason is because I actually love change. I am one of the weirdest people that you will probably come across. I love interviews. I love being interviewed. I love that because that gives me an opportunity to shine, but it also gives me an opportunity to interview you. And I love change. I love change in the context because what can occur once the change has happened, especially in business, especially in retail, right? Because we change all the time. We change daily. The retail industry evolves daily. And what I have seen is when someone really wants to get promoted, or the ones that don't get promoted, are the ones that don't have the vision and understanding that they need to change with what takes place. Here's an example. We have a new initiative that comes down from HQ, and right, it is supposed to help shave hours from a productivity standpoint. And I have a saying, and I'm actually going to probably do an episode on this one too. It's called everything works at home office, right? And we understand that things, when you test things at home office, it works at home office, but when you bring it down to the field, it doesn't work. But here's the issue: is that you don't even try. I have seen entire markets not even try with different initiatives that actually come from home office. And they are so resistant to change because they like to do things the way they like to do them because they've been doing it for years. And that is the kiss of death. You will never, I'm going to say definitively, unless, the person that is, going to give you the position really likes you, and you won't get promoted if you don't have a better understanding of embracing and dealing with change. And the best way to get ahead of change. Okay, I'm gonna drop you some. I'm just gonna drop you some more knowledge here. I'm just gonna drop y'all some more knowledge. So get ahead of the change. One of the best ways that you can get ahead of the change and also position also position yourself more so than anyone else that's actually potentially going to, um, go for the position. In retail, we have these things, and it's not just us, but we have these. All the other industries have them, but they call pilots, right? And it is a different initiative that the company wants to roll out to a certain market before they roll it out to the entire company, right? Understandable. And they strategically pick different markets based on on complexity, based on um, turnover, or it can also be based on the customer buying patterns or the demographics, right? Because may want to roll out a new hair care, a new black hair care line, and they want to test it. One of the best ways to embrace change is to get ahead of it, is to be preemptive. And if there is a new pilot that is actually rolling out within your company, you need to raise your hand and actually do it. It is one of the best ways to get yourself and your market on the map. It is one of the best ways to be ahead of the change, right? Because now you have a seat at the table for that change, right? And when you have a seat at the table, it's different than being you're feeding yourself. I always say it in this way: when you have a seat at the table, you're feeding yourself. When you don't have a seat at the table, people are feeding you. Understand that. When you have a seat at the table, you have the capacity and ability to feed yourself. But when you are not at the table, people are feeding you. So I would rather be the person that is actually um, at the table and feeding myself than the one that's actually being fed. So I hopefully hope those who have kids and all those other people who probably don't, I hope they, you guys understand that analogy and get that too as well too. But the resistance to change is definitely one of the areas that I see holds individuals back from actually getting promoted. One of the things that you can do to help you with this is to develop a healthy sense of curiosity, asking questions that you don't know the answer to. I know that doesn't sound like a good leadership trait. I know, right? That sounds completely counter to everything you have learned or been taught about being a leader. Is to You should know what you're talking about, right? The best leaders that I know, the best leaders that I know are curious. The best leaders I know ask questions that they don't have the answer to. And here they hope they ask the questions and hope that you have the answer, right? Especially if they're in a higher position. When they come to your market, they don't really know what your market kind of is known for or going through. That gives you the opportunity to talk about it and to answer questions that they have, because they're curious. They want to know. They want to know that I have your time here. I have your team. I want to take this information and I want to actually bring it back to the company, and maybe we can do something with it. But you should also be curious as to what's taking place in the market. One of the best questions and the easiest questions to ask a person, when you have a store visit or a market visit, and you want to know what's the best question to ask somebody. You're a corporate and you see a senior vice president that you want to connect with and talk to. What keeps you up at night, right? What keeps you up at night? What's one thing that you would kind of change about the company right now, or about the current direction that we're in? Or what's a segment of our assortment that you think we need to look at differently? How are we going to handle the supply chain issue, right? What are we doing differently? What about ship to store? What is that, ship from store? What does that look like? What concerns you about, the online world right now with AI? What about TikTok? How about TikTok and influencers? How are we utilizing influencers to reduce the the buying time, for different products, or the decision making time, or help influence the decision making time for different products. Asking questions that you may not know the answer to, but you want to know, you genuinely want to know, and that person can actually help you with that. So we number two was resistance to change. You have to understand the market. You have to understand what takes place there. You have to get ahead of the change, and you have to be curious. We are going to get to number three right after this.
You're listening to Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy.
The one thing I do know right now, this podcast right here is actually brought to you, of course, by Worthy Retail U. And what takes place right now in the retail world is what we call make a move. This is a pinnacle time in your career as a retail leader. We just saw the stats. We just talked about the stats earlier that it was 74% of retail workers are looking for new positions. And what is taking place is that you have received the talking points from corporate. You are probably implementing some of those talking points. You have received maybe you are in a process of receiving your bonus, and in your performance review, and you're thinking about possibly making a move. Here's the thing: your boss is thinking about it. Your peers are thinking about it. A lot of people are thinking about it. But you have to be careful because you need to make the right move. We spoke about this earlier, is that one of the reasons why people want to get promoted are the three F's, and that is because they're thinking about their future, their family, or their finances. But you have to be able to make the right move. We have a program, it's called it's called Make a Move. We help you understand where you are so that you can make the right decision to make a move up, on, or out of your organization. And we are here to help you. You can connect with us, of course, at Worthy Retail U. But if you're looking at this right now, on our live podcast, there is a QR code that you can scan, and that will actually take you right to our page, and you can connect with us there. Clients that we work with, they have been in different aspects of retail for short periods of time, long periods of time, and they want to reinvigorate their current career. They want to reinvigorate their leadership. They want to think differently about where they are so that they can make the right decision that's going to help them impact their family, finances, and their future positively. So make sure that you connect with us and you make a move. All right? Talk to you soon. All right. So we spoke about strategic vision, and we spoke about resistance to change. Number three, and then we have our North Star, of course. But number three that I want to make sure that we talk about: strategic communication. And I hope you are sensing the theme as I'm speaking about strategic, right? So I keep using the word strategic because it's important that you understand that you have to have a strategy as it relates to getting promoted, as it relates to connecting with people. You have to have a strategy. So even within your communication needs to be strategic. What I see all the time, I won't say all the time. I apologize all the time. I don't. It's not all the time. What I see a lot as it relates to communication is the level of communication is surface level, and it's not about a real problem. It's more about where do I fit within that problem, which is a good kind of perspective, but it doesn't provide a lot of help and context to trying to get promoted and positioning yourself and having strategic communication with people. So from a strategic communication standpoint, the overall goal, there's a few goals that I want to talk about, is to build authority and to build knowledge. You cannot communicate what you don't know. Period. Period. So you have to build authority and you have to build knowledge. Majority of people, they don't do that. They don't have a growth plan in place, especially a lot of retail leaders. They feel that they feel that seniority, time and service, working in two or three different stores or maybe two or three different markets, that will actually get them there, but they haven't taken the time to build their authority and knowledge. They are doers. They are managers. They are managing the processes and the protocol, but they're not leading people. And the first person that I always say that you need to lead is yourself. And the best way to do that is to build authority and knowledge. But once again, you cannot communicate what you don't have. You need to take the time to listen to podcasts. You need to take the time to read books. You need to take the time to be curious, like we just spoke about in number one. And you need to be able to understand that things evolve and change, and that you have to kind of consistently build up your I call it your leadership quotient, right? I'm a big fan of John Maxwell, and one of the main things that we speak about. Actually, we just finished a 21 law series for retail leaders, and the first one was the law of the lid, and it talks about you can only lead at what level that you are at. And I'll give you an example. So if you say, leadership's 1 through 10, if you are a 6, you, for all intents and purposes, can only lead a 5 or below. You could probably lead another 6, right? But you can't lead a 7. You can't lead a 7. Some people can lead up, but the majority of people, if you are a 6, you are at a 6, and you can lead a 6 down and possibly, a lateral 6. So what do you do to lead at a higher level? You build authority, you build knowledge, you build experiences, evaluated experiences, as we spoke about. You grow in your emotional intelligence, you grow in your self-awareness, your ability to articulate how you feel in a situation, or how you are going to actually communicate within that situation. And when you're able to do that, your leadership level goes up. So now you go from a 6 to a 7.5. So now at a 7.5, you can definitely lead 7s and below, and maybe an 8. So understanding that's what building your authority and communication does. And then your business acumen is another aspect. And your business acumen is how things work. I have my undergrad in accounting. And those of you who know me, you know that I lasted, if you heard my story before, I lasted about 6 months in accounting. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. Once I graduated, moved to New York, and the jobs, of course, were there. This is I'm old, so I'm not even gonna give you the year, but the jobs were paying pretty well, but I couldn't stand it. I was stuck in a cubicle, and I left. I left after 6 months. I couldn't do it. But guess what? But getting that degree, it gave me a healthy understanding, and from a business acumen standpoint, I learned how businesses operate. I understood tax structure. I understood profit and loss. I even understood marketing and how marketing impacts customer experience. All of those things from a business acumen standpoint, I was able to learn. So instead of you just understanding the front of the house, you need to understand supply chain, if you will. You need to understand costs of actual products and not just where to place them. You need to understand different business, concepts and thought processes and how people see things from a higher level. And we could talk about that in another podcast. But I wanted to make sure that I just spoke about business acumen because it's important to understand. It doesn't necessarily keep you back from getting promoted, but it helps you from a strategic communication standpoint because now you can communicate at a higher and deeper level. Articulate value, you and your impact. So one of the issues that I see, a lot when it comes to, you know, um, communication is it's selfish. So there's a lot of selfish communication, man. It is about you. It's about, what you did and what you doing. And you're like, well, isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing? I'm not supposed to be just talking about myself because I'm the one that's getting promoted. I get it, but here's the thing: you gotta understand how you articulate value with yourself, and also your impact. And so, what I mean by that is, how did you do what you did, and who did you impact with what you did, right? Because the typical interview question is they're behavioral, and they want to know not just what you did, but they want to know why you did it and who did you impact with what you did. I'm telling you this right now. We are going to be rolling out an interview guide. It's a 3-part interview guide. And it's a retail interview guide, and part of this is helping people understand how to articulate their message around what they did and the impact that they have and the impact that they actually had on others. Because the reason why you need to know that is because whoever's interviewing you, they want to know what that's going to look like at the next level. Wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know, right? How something impacted you at this level, and were you able to, have the self-awareness to work through that, or did you lose it? Because guess what? If you lost it at this level, you're going to lose it at the next level because there's more pressure. So being able to articulate your value and your impact. Don't forget your team. Don't forget your team. We want to talk all day long about ourselves, but we forget to talk about how we helped our team improve. Question I always ask, I always go off the script. All my HR business partners and directors, they couldn't stand me. They like me, but they couldn't stand me for the interview process because I always went off the cuff. There's a standard interview guide that you're supposed to read off of, but I always went off script. One of the questions that I always asked was like, you are about to start a new business unit. You are about to open up a new market. Who on your team would you take with you? And man, and I would challenge you to think about that right now. Think about that right now as you're listening to this. If you had the opportunity to take, to go to and open up a new business unit, who on your team would you take with you? Here's the issue with this question. And I love this. I love asking this question. Is because we can talk all day long. We can talk all day long about the people that we will take with us. We can talk about it all day long, right? Because that's the question. That's the question. It's like, who would you take with you? I'll talk to him, so and so, so and so, and then I ask the question. I ask a follow-up question. Well, who wouldn't you take with you? Oh, so and so, because they lack communication, they're immature, da 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 da. And there have only been a few people that have really gotten this answer right. And it's kind of a loaded question, or it's kind of one of those questions that I just used to teach in the interview as well. Those of you who are seasoned interviewers, you you hopefully you have one of those. You have one of those questions that you use to teach the interviewee, one, because you may like them, or two, because they may not be getting the job, but they need to think about this as they leave the interview. I want them to understand is that they have a role to play, and not just the people that they didn't take with them, or that they're going to take with them, but the people that they leave behind. What did you do? So and so lacks maturity, or lacks communication, or whatever it is. What did you do to help them? How did you help them? And the typical thing I get is that blank stare of like, ooh, I didn't. I don't think I did anything. Because you want to know that. You want to know what that person did for that, and for the least of them, the least of us, if you will. Were they able to impact that person that they wouldn't take? Or did they just focus on the high potential people? Because if you did that, that's going to be you at the next level. When you start to think about people you want to promote, you'll have a tendency to focus on the high potential people and not go underneath and grow and develop the people underneath. You have to be able to do that. You have to be able to strategically communicate that to other people as well. Then the last one is for this strategic communication. Just communicate the insight and the acumen around the acumen. Be able to communicate, what you've learned and how it's going to impact you. I really hope this is you are getting some value out of this, and you're understanding the role that you understand some of the things that will prevent you from getting promoted. Once again, number one was lack of strategic vision. Number two was resistance to change. And number three was lack of strategic communication. And now, as you guys know, this is the best part of our podcast. The best part is the North Star. So the North Star is that time when we, I've been talking to you about all these different things, and you're like, dude, okay, Steve, great. I hear what you're saying, but what does this mean for me? What does this truly mean for me? I want to know, because we can talk about stuff all day long, but you need to see yourself in these solutions, and when you are actively doing them correctly, what they look like. All right. So when we start talking about the North Star, a couple of things that you can do with all this information. And I typically go in threes, but I over prepared for you, man. So you guys are getting some bonus. You guys are getting some serious bonus content right here. Some serious bonus content. So from a North Star standpoint, actively build a strategic growth plan. You don't grow by accident. You don't grow through osmosis. You have to be intentional about your growth. You have to be, I'm going to keep saying it until, you guys get that. You have to be intentional about your growth. You have to seek out information and people that are going to help you and be honest with you so that you can become the best version of yourself. And the second part of this steps is to actively seek feedback. I say this all the time, and I'm finishing outlining a podcast on this one too. And it's the issue with feedback is the higher you go, the less feedback you receive. Understand that. The higher you go, the less feedback you receive. So you have to have a mindset of getting feedback, right? From the right people at the right time, right? And utilizing that feedback and understanding, how this can impact you down the line, and also whatever feedback that they gave you, how it's impacting them and the other people around them. So you have to understand that. You the other piece of this North Star aspect is that you have to embrace change, broader than before, right? So when things are you know, coming through, those of us who were in retail during COVID, right? You want to talk about embracing change. This is why I know that retail leaders are the best leaders in the world, is because our ability during COVID and to manage and lead through the change that was COVID. Change was happening hourly. Protocol was changing on the hour. Mask protocol, 6 feet distance, contact, how people are punching in, visits, virtual visits. It was just changing. And if anything, that taught us was that change is possible. Rapid change is possible, and it's not perfect all the time, but it's possible. And so you have to be able to embrace broader change, broader perspective of what change could do to impact your company and your market. You have to teach your teams to do the same. The one thing that I see all the time is that people they will hoard information, solid information that they need to be teaching their teams as well, right? Here's what happens, and I see this, and you still see this at the district manager group, VP level too, at certain times. You will see the withholding sometimes of information, vital information that will probably help their peers grow, but they don't share that information because they're fearful. They're fearful that someone is going to take the opportunity. Someone's going to take their position. It's the furthest thing from the truth. The best leaders share as much information as they possibly can. I'm not done with the North Star just yet. I'm going to give you a couple more tips. Because I want you to get promoted. I want you to learn and I want you to grow. Ask to do more. Ask to do more. I'll put ask to do more. The tendency is that we think that just because we've had a certain period of time in service that we should be getting promoted. You need to ask to do more. You need to, like I spoke earlier, if there's a pilot that's taking place, if there's a remodel that the company is thinking about, a new floor plan, something, raise your hand, get involved. It will be the best thing that you can do because you will have multiple stories to tell and talk about, multiple teachings, multiple lessons learned, multiple people, ideally, hopefully, that will get promoted out of that opportunity. So ask to do more. 2 more points and we're done for the day. And we're done, man. Boss will communicate differently. This is what happens. This is what happens when the North Star is being implemented properly, when these things are being implemented properly. Your boss will communicate to you differently. They will. When you have actively sought feedback, when you are building a strategic plan, when you are embracing change broader, and when you are teaching your team to do the same, your boss will communicate to you differently than your peers. It happened to me all the time. And initially the communication was, at the, market level. Then it became more of a regional level. Then it became more of a corporate level, standpoint of our communication. And I just saw that growing and growing and growing because they start to see something different in you and they start to, trust you more, right? And when they trust you more, they communicate to you differently. So these are the things. These are the things that will happen, from a North Star standpoint when you are actually implementing some of these things that we just spoke about. And the last one is strategic introductions occur. Man, oh man. Um, I had the opportunity to, my boss's boss wanted me to put together a weekly operational review. This is a while ago. All of this information, you know, you can pull all of this information, but he wanted it. He wanted a more um, grassroots perspective of his entire market, and so he asked me to put it together, and so I did. And little did I know, he was sending this information to his boss and his boss's boss. I didn't know this until about 3 weeks in, until the third week that I was doing this, and I saw the email, and I looked at the email, and I saw like, oh my God, he's sending this out to his boss's bosses, his boss and his boss's boss. So weeks later, probably maybe 2 months later, we're at corporate, um, and I have never met my boss's boss at the time, um, and I'm standing somewhere and I see him, and he comes, directly over towards me, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm Steve. Hey, I'm Steve Worthy." He said, "I know who you are. I get your emails every Friday." And I was like, "Oh, like so I already knew that but I didn't know that he knew me, right?" And then his boss does the same thing. So when you are getting ready to get promoted, when you have a good strategic plan in place, growth plan, you're taking feedback, you're embracing change, and you're bringing your team along for the ride. Strategic introductions will occur, and they will happen more often than you think. All right, guys, this is part one of a two-part series. Next episode, we are going to be talking about what are the things to do to actually get promoted. These are the things that, these are the reasons why you don't get promoted. We're going to be talking about the reasons why you will get promoted in the next episode. So I'm excited about part two. Wherever you are in your growth journey, your leadership journey, you have to be able to make the right decisions. You have to be able to understand uh, why you want to get promoted, what your thoughts are, where you currently are. The issue that I see a lot of times is that no one has a really good understanding of where they are. The best leaders, the ones who are getting promoted, have a good idea of who they are and where they want to go. Our job with Worthy Retail U is to help you understand who you are so that you can make the best decision for your career. If you are interested in connecting with us, you can also connect with us with the QR code, but that's going to be here and also in the show notes. And you can also just connect with us, at Worthy Retail U. We would love to have a conversation with you. You need a safe space. One of the things that I know as a retail leader, I always look for a safe space to have a conversation about my career because it's sensitive. It's personal, and I want to be able to make the right decision. So we want to make sure that you are going to make the right decision. Connect with us at Worthy Retail U, and we will talk to you soon. God bless. All right. Cool, man. That is the actual podcast piece done. Now I'm live, man. I'm live. Hey, thank you guys for hanging out. I really appreciate Mr. Dr. Elo hanging out. Thank you, Florence. For being here. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Awesome tips. Thanks so much, man. If you have any questions or any thoughts or a thing you want to share, whether you guys are here or you guys are on a replay, make sure you go ahead and do that. I'm here to kind of answer any of those questions. I know a lot of the things I speak about, of course, is, directed towards retail leaders. But at the end of the day, a lot of these things are leadership principles that I love to teach in the retail environment. And so we just want to make sure that, um, we are getting this content out there. Thank you. Number one assignments, you know, assignments are the secret sauce. I'm telling you, they put you in rooms you won't get into otherwise. I'm telling you, they also grow your network 100%. The issue, give me some water. I'm telling you, the assignments are critical. Are critical. My team used to get so pissed at me. I raised my hand every time a new pilot would come up. Every time. Our market could do it. Our market could do it. Our market could do it. Like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my gosh, we just got finished with one. I don't care. We doing another one, right? But you know how many people? I don't even remember or know how many people got promoted. You know, in doing that, and it was just something that I no one taught me that. I learned that in because when you go through the interview process, they want to know the impact that you have had on your market, but also for the company. That's probably kind of what you see kind of across the board, but definitely in retail. They want to know the impact that you have been able to create with your market and what you are doing about it. And you have to be able to articulate that. And I think doing assignments and doing pilots and things like that is one of the best ways, one of the best ways, man. And thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Eli. I appreciate you, man. What's going on, dude? How are you doing, man? I don't have no music on tonight, man. Doing this live podcast piece, man. So I appreciate you hanging out, man. Appreciate you hanging out as well. Um, what you share applies to many fields. Yeah, I agreed. You know what? Because the one thing that I have done in my career, while the majority of it has been in retail, I had, and I don't think I told you this. I don't think I told you this, Florence, or a lot of people probably don't know this, but I had I think it was like a year, maybe 2 year stint in project management, and I'm telling you, man. Um, and then I had a small stint in post secondary education as well, career colleges. I'm telling you, those two opened up my eyes to um, different cultures, right? And what I mean by that is in the career community, in the career college, it could be community colleges or whatever it is. The business model is based on attendance. It's based on attendance. That's how they're able. A lot of these schools are able to file like financial aid, and get paid. This is early 2000s. Um, and a large portion of that um, is because is attendance focused, is attendance based, right? And you actually have to turn in, and the attendance, of your schools. And one of the big things that I learned early was around culture. The best schools and markets that I had really good cultures. They provided a reason for, actually I can turn this off. They provided a culture where people wanted to come, and people and the students wanted to attend, and they wanted to stay all day. So guess what? Those places had the best revenues, right? They had the best revenue streams. And so it taught me the importance of culture, and the importance of culture in retail, and the importance of creating culture where people and teams want to come, and they want to stay. From a project management standpoint, I learned the idea and the concepts of what we call earned value. You know this, Florence, right? And I think you may know this, Matt. Matthew too, and some other people in the audience, is that as a project progresses, there is a certain level of value that that project generates based off the totality of the project, right? The end project, and project management people out there probably just gonna kill me because I'm probably murdering this whole idea of earned value. But this is Steve's perspective of it, is that as a project, certain aspects of a project is complete, you earn certain value for that project, right? And what that taught me was that every decision that I made and every benchmark or stage gate that we would talk about, you actually had to have certain parameters completed in order to earn that value. And for me, as it relates to leadership, it's very similar when you start to talk to people about where they want to go. There are certain things that you need to have in place in order for you to move to the next level, in order for you to promote people, in order for your market to be seen, in order for you to get appreciated for what you do. So that taught me how to help people earn value in their leadership journey. So all these things that I've learned and I've been able to kind of apply, to my life, man. It's been pretty cool. All good, my friend. I won't come for you about the EV. Yeah, man. I know. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Yeah, because it's yeah, that taught me a lot. In the process of actually, projects, and how to manage resources. Right. That's another thing it taught me too, is how to manage resources. Um, Time, people, raw resources, um, time as a resource, right? All these different aspects, man. So all these different things played a role into my life, man. You guys have been awesome. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in to this live podcast. We are going to do this continuously, unless I have a guest every Thursday night. We'll be doing a live podcast, and I'm excited to be doing these now. They've been long overdue, and a lot of people have been asking for them because we do the audio podcast, of course, with Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy, and so this will actually become an audio podcast as well, which is why I at the very beginning, didn't take any questions and all of that stuff. And, I'm going to edit some of the other stuff out, and, we're going to make it all pretty as well too. But I think the editor is going to like this one because he'll have it pretty easy, because I was able to kind of structure it just like I did my regular podcast. So if you're looking at this on replay, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to the audience for next week, because we're going to talk about how to get promoted, but we're going to be talking about the reasons why people get promoted in retail. All right, you guys have, let's say, what is it, 8 something? Man, it is. You guys have a great rest of your evening, and I will talk to you later. Have a great night. God bless.